project management straight away. Basically because I got project management and program management master's degree in university, so I decided to go towards the project management, and was a conscious decision. I have tried myself previously in some project related stuff while being engineer when I was studying, so I came to project management as a choice, not because of money or not because it's IT or fancy stuff or whatsoever. So that's because I tried it, I like it. I switched my technical education into managerial one, and after I finished, I became a manager in a product company. Actually, pretty cool product company, which were working mostly in pharmaceuticals. And it was multi-platform CRM system, and it was a pretty good start because CRM systems, in my understanding, are pretty simple. Maybe someone would throw something at me if I say that CRM systems are simple, but for me it was pretty simple to understand, super conscious and business-oriented stakeholders, and and the sense of purpose which product company gives. Then I switched to outsourcing, and in the another company, which was Crucian company, was German small friends and family outsourcing company, which was doing outsourcing, outstaffing, and also product development. So the company was trying to develop and sell the product, but friends and family companies are cool and great, but there is no scale. And I was interested in the problems which are related to scale. And I have joined like 3 years ago Luxoft. Since then, I was working on the different projects, programs, and portfolios for different customers, doing totally different stuff. I can't even tell that I'm project manager now, because I was doing pretty interesting things around, which I was happy to do. And one of those things is actually helping some projects in trouble, or projects needing extra assistance, or projects which are needing some managerial advice or coaching, or which needs to be saved because they're failing. Sometimes this happens. Besides that, I was doing a lot of general management stuff on a higher scale, because, as I said before, I was interested in the problems of scale, which are stepping in a big organization, and especially in the big delivery teams. And basically, you have requested the topic, so I have a lot of different topics I'm interested into elaborating more. Yet you wanted to know how did we got to a self-organizing team. So first of all, it's not the first self-organizing team I have seen, but that's the first self-organizing team which to some extent became organizing by itself. So, and I would explain this in details. So I probably apologize for the quality of my presentation to some extent. So I had a limited time to prepare it and a lot of things to do, but yeah. I'll start sharing it in a moment.
Just wait a little bit.
Sure.
Also, for newcomers, please introduce yourself via the chat, because mostly our community is about networking, and we know our audience. So please introduce yourself via messages here in this Zoom room. Okay. Now you're working in Luxoft, right?
Yeah, I'm working in Luxoft Poland. So I have switched to Luxoft already being in Poland, in Krakow. Then I was working in Gdańsk. Now I'm working in Warsaw. So we are joking like between ourselves that the Luxoft is a touristic operator for IT specialists. So you can pretty much travel and work in any location whenever we have a demand for your specific skills.
Okay, cool. So you started working here in Ukraine?
No. I started. I have relocated with another company to Krakow, and then I switched to Luxoft.
Okay, probably it will be a great another topic for our video meetups, how to go to another country, be in a PM and to relocate. But probably in the future. Okay, so I think that it's 7 o'clock right now, so we can start, yeah, with the presentation and with the topic.
Okay, just let me, just a second. Okay, please confirm if you can see my screen, my presentation.
Yeah, definitely.
Good to hear.
And by the way, guys, we are going, our community are going to organize an Atlassian conference. I don't remember the exact day, but if you didn't register for it and there is no spots, places, you can ask Oleksandr like the most interesting question, and he's going to choose two the most interesting questions, and the prize for these questions will be 2 tickets for this Atlassian conference. Yes, so be active and feel free to do that. Yeah, sorry, Oleksandr. Yeah, just
okay. Yep, that's pretty good. So in the meanwhile, you can follow the discussion by posting memes in the chat, so we can see the or receive immediate feedback. So basically, I have decided to represent this in a way that it would be an enterprise outsourcing fairy tale, because such things are happening infrequently. And while some of the things you can use on your project, some of the things might never happen before, or not dependent on your decision or on things you are doing, yet they contributed to the final state of the team that we have right now. Second thing is that I have data mask customer name of the product and people names. And third thing, since I believe that independently on what we're doing, what technology we are using, what kind of business domain we are working in, the people are most important part of anything, because people invent technologies, people build products, and they do it for other people. So yeah, so that's why the topic is kind of important, and that's why this team is super interesting for me as an object for let's say analysis. And basically, I have choose people perspective because in the team there was a lot of different tragic moments, tough moments, or good moments happening, and all they were related to some specific personalities. And just because of those personalities, those things happened. Yes, so I have also received green light to use sort of a font style of Excellion, which is Financial Services of Luxoft. So let's go. Basically, prehistoric age or parallel project. So how it started? So it started from cooperation with this specific customer on another project in similar area, and it was pure staffing. What does staffing model mean? So probably I don't need to explain. So vendor just provide people, customer does with those people whatever he wants, shapes the team in the way he wants, and they were pretty much sitting in the customer office. But what is unusual to typical staffing, let's say, engagements where the people are taken from different vendors. There was only one vendor here. That was Luxoft. And there was another vendor from which there was a transfer of knowledge for this specific project. So as you can see, there was a pretty long ramp up, and those long ramp up also was dependent on the pace of knowledge transfer with another vendor. So it took 12 months to reach a maximum amount of people or target state. It was classical cross-functional team with QA, Scrum Master, team leads, developers, PA. Maybe only DevOps was from my perspective missing, but I would explain why it happens and why it's also problem for a current team. It was a bigger but simpler application. It's a 10 years enterprise. It's super huge, but at the same time, it was single purpose, which was making it easier to work on for the team. There was a 2 years hard limit for staffing for this specific engagement, meaning that the team needed to die at the end of 2 years period. So it was terminated a bit faster because it achieved its goal. Half of a team was retained past projects. I'm not sure if it's accurate, but I checked the history of those people, and 3 people retained till today. Yet I had no time to talk to them face to face to get the full story. But they made an important thing. So they built up a trust with the customer. So it's super important. There's a simple concept when you are engaging a customer person on the street or whatsoever. So you are immediately attaching or giving some credit of trust to this person. And if you are doing a positive things towards this person or the things that this person approves, you're returning this credit with percents. So, and the person feel relieved that he's credited the right person. Also, you feel relief because you fulfilled the let's say social promise. So I don't know the whole details. It seems that there was some strange things happening, and for instance, one of the developers worked only 4 months. Probably he was transferred to finish some scope because ramp up was still going, and something needed to be finished. But nonetheless, the customer was super happy about what they were doing and super happy about the quality and the quantity of the delivery. And precondition to our projects. So we had a positive track record of 2 years on a previous project in a similar area. The location was pretty near for business trips, so the customer could visit those people, and those people could travel to customer. High quantity delivery, so we outmaneuvered in terms of amount of things delivered other teams in the area. How quality of delivery, that means that our solutions had less trouble to business than solutions provided by other teams. Low cultural difference, so yeah, I know that we're all working in multicultural team, and our team is not exception. But at the same time, there was no misalignment in terms of basic values and approach to the delivery. Hire good people, and they will do the rest attitude. So the customer was a kind of ambassador guy, and who had a lot on his plate, doing multiple projects simultaneously. And his approach was like hiring good people, and they would do the rest. And no formal accountability for a project from a stakeholder. So we had a strange type of a situation when we had a stakeholder in our project, which is formally was not introduced as our stakeholder, and he had other projects when he had a full control, and he was assigned as an accountable stakeholder who is responsible for delivering it. So we are kind of an orphan project without a key stakeholder, despite we had a contract and his name was in the contract, and we were communicating with this person. But you need to understand that his capacity was limited, and he was not running the project directly, but rather expecting from a team to deliver by themselves, while he is cleaning up the path on higher levels of hierarchies, like on a director's level, dealing with business, dealing with some stakeholders, and so on and so forth. So he had no capacity to directly manage the team. That's an important part you need to understand. And he was expecting the team to deliver by themselves.
So let's sum up like first part. It was outstaff project, right? Or outstaff model?
Yeah. Before that, we had a project in pure outstaffing, like total pure outstaffing with this specific stakeholder.
Okay.
And it was not the project we would discuss today, but it's give us trust, and it give the customer faith into the location, into Luxoft, and into the team.
Mm-hmm. And all the team is located in one location, right?
Yes. Yes.
In one office. So
Yes.
it's not a distributed team. Okay.
No, we are not big fans of the distributed teams because, so you can pretty much make any team, including distributed team, work, but it's adding complexity.
Okay, and domain is what was the domain of the project? Is it like financial organization, right? Or
I can say.
you can't say. We can guess.
Yeah, you can guess. So
Yeah,
that's the type of a customer Luxoft loves.
yeah. I think it's or automotive, or financial or banking, something like that.
Yep, pretty much. That's some kind of a big enterprise, super huge enterprise customer with super huge systems and pretty much complicated things that we have inherited from other team. But
Okay, I see. Legacy 10 years. Oh my gosh.
I would explain. So it's a nightmare. It's a
It's total.
technological nightmare.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
move on.
but it's
And
all a precondition. So I'm just preparing you to what we received as a current project, let's say. So during the transfer, there was no manuals, like not a single one. There was some sort of a technical documentation created by fathers of this project from Zurich 10 years ago, but it was outdated by a decade. So teams that were working on this sort of a platform or multi-module platform were not updating it. There was no specifications, so there was a Jira, but specifications were missing, so you can't understand from specifications. There was no auto tests, so you can't check the auto tests to understand how this component. That's the name of the company I'm working. That's not the name of the customer.
but thanks for trying.
Maybe I have missed something, but yeah, maybe. The vendor which we were taking it over, it was from Southeast Asia. No need to do hard guessing what was the country, and they pretty much ignored us. So you can send in emails, you would get no response. You can set up meetings, you would get no participation in those meetings. There was few customers sort of enforced meetings with those guys, but they didn't said anything specific. The fathers of the project, so the guys who initially created the platform, they were actually from customer team, and they left the customer team, and we were able to track them, but there was no point to getting them back. Yeah, I'm working for Luxoft.
But they asking about that
Exilian.
yeah.
It's a long story. So Exilian was a was like London-based, but with world reach financial services company that was bought by Luxoft, and now Luxoft is bought by DXCC. So please expect that you would something like Luxoft, the DXCC company, Exilian, something. So branding.
Yeah.
I'm not too much into marketing, but all you need to know that Exilian is a sort of a brand for financial services right now. So no leverage from customer and existing vendor. So pretty much you go to customer, please help us. He's saying, oh, sorry, you need to figure that out by you. So I just can't do anything with the vendor who is going to be kicked out. So, and they won't help you to do the knowledge transfer either. Application was not building, and no access to any environment except local. So pretty much you can go to the code base and try to do something on a local environment without any configuration or understanding of on which infrastructure it's running. Technology, that's my favorite part. It's legacy 10 years old platform which consists in multiple modules, and we have transferred only one module, which was consisting of 200 classes in 30K lines of code, which you would say, hey, this is a small application, sort of a calculator. But it was just a part of a truth, because we had 1K UML diagram and domain-specific language with business logic and a specific tool, which was generating 150K lines of code, like spaghetti code, which was cross-used by all 4 modules. And the problem with this generated spaghetti code still persists. So the idea was pretty interesting. They wanted to have a tool when they draw UML diagrams, they add something and they get the working code with the business logic there. But it turns a nightmare. Oh, memes. Just a second. I need to check. Yeah. That was what I'm thinking. And this part is still there. It's still sort of a pain in the ass. Sorry for my language, because anything that you change there is immediately leads to something breaking somewhere, and you can't predict it, because unless you generate this code and build the application as a whole, and it's take like 2 hours of build time, you don't know whether it would be working or not. Yeah, so it was spiced by proprietary and vendor tools, which are not supported anymore. So, for instance, the tool where they were drawing UML diagram is that from 2015. There was 4 teams and 1 code base, so pretty much you are spending the whole day fixing the build, and in the morning someone at night in different time zone just broke your application, and you're starting from the beginning. It was extremely fragile, so everything we were doing were leading to more problems, even the bug fixes, because every feature was a hack and a workaround. So there was a lot of patches, there was a lot of hooks, there was a lot of strange magic there, and it was generating the pain for everyone, including business, obviously. Deliver first, test never approach, so no one was actually testing that. So there is some manual regression suite, but it's a Swiss cheese. Bugs are marching through this regression in a row, and no one can stop them. No static code tests, no unit tests, no integration tests, no CI/CD, no test data management, no configuration management, merge anything, anytime, anywhere branching strategy. So anyone can go to any branch and just do whatever he wants there. And they were doing that. Lots of patches and hot fixes on prod, which were somehow never backported to some trunk. And yeah, 2 hours build time. So you introduce a small change, 2 hours you're drinking coffee, reading books, watching on the windows, like when life passing by. So the project from the beginning was a nightmare. It still is, but at least like 50%. So now it's a tourist attraction.
You told us about that some changes from other time zones. So some other teams were also working at this company at some like.
No. It was different teams from a different vendors,
Okay.
which were working on the same code base, but on a different module. But we were all interconnected with this spaghetti generator. So we pretty much broke the application into 4, but we still remain some. There's still some dependencies remain.
I see.
Yeah. So we had our part of this spaghetti and our part of, let's say, pure code. I wouldn't call it clean code or solid build code or whatsoever. It was like only us, and everything else was shared and pretty much needs to be changed in a common tool and a common code base, so to say.
And what's about architecture of the whole platform? It was like a monolith project.
Monolith.
Yeah,
It's a monolith.
See.
It's a 10 years old. It's a monolith. They try
So
to use domain-driven design.
nobody heard about microservices, right?
Well, they actually, well, the microservices topic started a bit earlier than they started, but yes, the monolith was strong there. But they tried to use domain-driven design at some point. So,
Oh, I see.
but it's seen by the code that they were trying to make it good at some point. But then I believe the business pushed them to the dark side, and they started to generate a future nightmare. Yeah, pretty much that was a precondition. And there would be a big slide. I'm sorry, I don't know how to break it. But here's the people. Yeah, there are different people under aliases. Sorry if it would be offending to someone. I had a little time to pick it up. So this is a people perspective of what was happening on the project during the 3 years period. And the perspective is pretty much could be split into roughly. So I'm not putting into specific months because there was some key things or key decisions made, but there was like Dark Ages, Renaissance, and Industrial Age. So
I
to
like
say,
it. I like it.
yeah. So in the dark ages, so customer started for pretty much his paradigm of hiring good people and making them work out, but something went wrong, and people were starting rapidly leaving the team. So you can see that there are first victim, second victim, and the third victim. So there was a Java developer, pretty good one. So I checked their profiles. There was a solid, pretty good developers, which pretty much can work on some projects, but they just decided that's enough for them. And there was a couple of people who persisted. So it's a fintech guy. I call him in a way because he's now working on a fintech company. Workaholic BA. That's a pretty good addition always. And Steve Jobs. And I would, yep.
Sorry for interrupting. Who you are?
Oh, I'm in the bottom. So I
Ah,
put myself in the bottom, and I would explain why.
I see. I
So
see. Okay.
I was not with the project from the beginning, but I was observing it maybe from August 2017. So I was watching what's happening, talking to people, but not being assigned as a manager, nor participating in the delivery there. So I was aware. I don't know, I could give a friendly advice, but I was at this point I was doing nothing to help the project. And Steve Jobs here, it's longest lasting person in the project, who was initially a C# developer. It's probably, oh, sorry, I need to return. Probably I need to add Java here because he also learned Java. So the application is written in 2 languages, so front end on the C#, and it's a desktop application, thick client, and a Java backend. So Steve Jobs was unlikely person. So he decided not to leave the project as everyone did. He decided to reverse engineer the build process and to understand the project itself. And he's still with the project, so he's a primary source of inspiration, technical expert, and a business domain expert right now. But it's all started, or it's not finished, just because of one person who decided, hey, this is kind of a challenge. Everyone is, wants to work on fancy projects with fancy technologies when everything's working, everything's right, and everything is fluffy and roses flying around. And he decided that he would stay and he will make it work, and he live up to his promise. So he basically at some point moved the project from a dead zone. So 3 developers decided that that's enough from them, and they just leave. Even fintech leave after some time. He switched to another project. Then he left Luxoft. Pretty much long-lasting person who switched through multiple accounts through internal mobility. But another interesting thing happened when the Snow White were added to the project. So at some point, there was a decision. Then someone needs to take care of at least formal thing like PMO stuff, like papers, supporting the customer, and so on and so forth. So this idea was sold to customer. And it turns out a big success, not because of PMO things, but because the person had no technical background, the person had no business background, like zero understanding of business domain, zero understanding of technology. And given that, this magnificent person focused on things she could do. And basically, she was trying to resolve blockers, go to some people outside the team, find some sources of knowledge, try to build up the bridges with other teams, trying to take away all the unnecessary communication and pressure exerted by business, by other technical teams which were dependent on us. So that's a continuation of a discussion that we had in the chat, that whether Scrum Master should be a technical person or not. So actually,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
a long story.
yeah, because person was not technical, she just focused on what she can, and she put away a lot of distraction from a team. And then she just introduced herself as a Scrum Master to the customer at some point when the team decided to follow the Scrum approach at some point, and customers say, hell, why not? So you're now Scrum Master. So another person, like a key person, let's say, who joined was Gandalf, which was also a mixed profile. So Steve Jobs joined as a C# but learned Java, and Gandalf was a mixed profile from the beginning, but more of a C#, let's say. And what he introduced to the team is that he started to work on a front end part, and he pretty much started introducing some quality to the to both front end and back end and order. So it's super magically organized person, let's say, and pretty strict in terms of technical things, while being pretty slow, which actually sometimes is a good thing. And during the dark ages, so the team lost a lot of people. So if there would be some sort of a manager over this project, so he would have troubles with such rates of attrition. And the most important thing, that during a whole year was 0 lines of code delivered. Customer waited things to happen. People were fleeing the project, so everyone in the team were kind of demotivated by what's happening.
Sorry,
Yep.
excuse me. During the
Sure.
whole year, 0 code were delivered? No way.
Yeah, exactly. Because they were unable to build up the application. So how you can deliver something if you can't build the
Okay.
application?
I see.
That's pretty easy. And the customer was deciding whom to hire. So and that was also a small issue which was overcame by the team. So by the time that the Snow White started to put some sort of order into the delivery, there were a lot of operational issues resolved by Dwarf Fortress game. Exactly. Yeah, I like Dwarf Fortress. And roguelike games. So there was some sort of a higher management supervision. So at the very bottom, you can find 3 people, like Colonel, which was delivery manager, Big Boss, which was delivery director, and me, which I'm officially a PM. So Colonel hired Snow White, and basically there was a super good decision because it turns out it's working somehow. While the big boss was also investing a lot of time into the project because, hey, it was like bloody red in all the reports, full of risk and so on and so forth, with the customer with which we had a successful project and staffing model. and me. So I was already there, seeing the project from a bit from a side. So I was not participating in it, but watching what's going to happen.
Uh,
Yep,
Excuse me, Alexander. Was
sure.
it like a full-time job at that
For whom?
time for you? For you?
No. So it was not even job for me. I was just sitting in the same location with them, like near them, and asking what they're doing. Like, hi guys, what you're doing? They were saying about their problems. But
You was asked by a boss to do that, or it
no, no,
just was like your decision, your
no,
own?
no, no, no. I was focused on totally different thing. But we live in society, so
Okay, yeah,
you need
I
to
see.
talk to someone to feel yourself a human, not just.
And during 2017, you was on other projects, right? Right?
Yes, I was
As a
running.
project
Yeah.
manager. I see.
Well, I don't know if I can call myself a project manager. I'm driving a lot of different initiatives,
Okay, I see.
uh, impacting and sometimes bigger scale, sometimes smaller scale. So someone also needs to do a dirty job. So I'm sort of a jack of all trades right now. But officially, I'm a project manager, right? Yeah, 2018, a lot of interesting things happened. So Big Boss solved a lot of operational issues, which took away pressure from a Snow White, and at the same time, Snow White built up some sort of an order into the delivery, and there was some key technical problems solved. But at the same time, as the Snow White was, uh, she was not a manager who is directing people. She was not a manager who is assigning a task to people. So she was a classical servant leader. So, like, guys, so I'm a service to you. So whatever you need, I will do to you. And she was doing it, and that's led to interesting things. So no gods, no masters, no team leads. So our stakeholder is assigned to another project de facto in his structure. So he's not actively participating in the delivery itself, though he helped a lot. So he worked a lot with more higher stakeholder, with the business, and so on and so forth. So, but he was not participating in day-to-day delivery activities, though he was sometimes getting the reports. So there was no manager on our side, only Scrum Master, which were solving the problems for people and caring for people, but at the same time not kind of building some plans or working with the backlog or whatsoever. And there was no team leads. So the team, probably I missed this case, but there was an attempt to have a team lead, and the team lead left after a couple of months. Did she still provided some kind of reports to customer? Yes, but customer the formal reports came later. In the majority of cases, it was just a leave communication, some sort of calls like weekly, bi-weekly to get the sense of what is going there. But the customer was not going too deep into details because he was really focused on other things. So maybe, yeah, it's definitely one of the things that made the team self-sufficient, because there was no kind of so there was some sort of control from of course from a customer side. So customer was watching what is happening there, but he just had no capacity to lead this by himself. In 2018, June, July, and why? June,
So
July,
what happened in June, July? Okay.
what should happen in June, July?
So what happened in June? Oh, just a moment. So what happened in June, July 2018, and why?
What do you mean, but what happened in June, July? So
Very basic scene. So you are saying
yes,
a lot of words about Snow White,
yeah,
whatever, but you have lost her in June, and after that you got not five, but almost like how many? 8 positions, right?
yeah. So
So
we have
something
lost her.
definitely
Yeah.
happened.
So yeah, you beat me. Sorry for big table. So we lost Snow White in September 2018. So there is a peculiar thing about local market. So you can't hire people on any managerial positions or any positions. There's a lot of positions which are excluded from hiring people as a contractors, and the local market is heavily contractor driven. So whenever people are getting experience, they just switching to the B2B rate, which is far above any possibility to retain person on a permanent employment contract. So Snow White just left the company. We're still friends. We're still seeing each other from time to time. But yeah, she just left the company. And people start growing because we had leftover budgets in 2018, and we were planning an extension for 2019. So we started actually to deliver in 2018. So the team delivered first bug fix, first story, and so on and so forth. And to the end of the 2018, we were delivering like one big epic, let's say, for each release, which is taking like around 3 months. And the extension decision was made because initially it was planned to grow the team and split them on 2 or even 3 sub teams working on the different modules besides the module that was transferred to us, because we penetrated this problem with the builds and with knowledge transfer. So we started to accumulate the knowledge inside the team. Is that thing that you're interested in, or
No.
okay? Can you please?
You only have 3 persons left from the initial headcount, and after that you hired 8 new persons.
Yeah.
So you basically reconstructed your team.
Yeah. Yeah.
This thing just doesn't happen without any reason.
Yes, for sure. I just explained you the reason. So we wanted to extend our scope on other modules in the bigger application. It didn't happen, but that was the intention behind extending the team, and there was a possibility to do so by contract. We can change the team composition with 1 month's notice. So on 1 month's
Okay.
notice,
So is it correct to say that all the initial story doesn't make any sense? The only outcome you got is some relationship with your stakeholders, and also you have 3 people with some knowledge, and that's it. So no, nothing else, right? And everything else should be done from the scratch because.
Well, yes and no. So we are still in a sort. There are still a lot of things that needs to be done from scratch. But yeah, so I didn't focus on technical things much, and there are a lot of dirty stuff still there which we need to fix. But the main idea here is that how the team became sort of self-manageable.
But sorry to interrupt you. Alexander Nagai, it's a famous Alexander N from a chat, I think.
Yeah, sure. I know him. And yeah. And
you're working in the one company, right?
No. We are not
No?
working with the one company, but we have a common friends.
I see.
It's okay to ask questions. Yeah. So I would reuse this slide internally anyway, because I need to build up a story for another topic. But yeah. So in the July, the team was already delivering something, and that's brought some sort of optimism to customer. And there was also money which were not spent by the contract, so we can extend team a bit upfront of a contract for 2019. So it's a normal situation when you're preparing yourself, whenever you have people that you could hire. Also, hiring for this project was super complicated because people are unwilling to work on legacy stuff. People are unwilling to do a lot of discovery stuff because it's still an issue that sometimes you need to sit a lot of time to understand what's happening there. Writing the spec for the year before the first production model. Yes, that's true, but here's a more interesting story about the BA. He was a workaholic, and he was delivering pretty decent specifications, I would say. And he was doing this independently. So he had some backlog which was not delivered. So nothing was from this backlog was delivered in 2017, but yet he was working with business. And there was a business analyst on the customer side. So workaholic was preparing the specifications while the business analyst on the customer side was managing the stakeholders. But the problem was that the workaholic had bad relationships with business, and the guy in Zurich who had excellent relationships with business while not producing any artifacts. So he somehow hadn't, I don't know, he might understand how application work, but he was like literally unable to produce anything that could be used by the development team to deliver something. So it was strange situation, which was which was actually solved in a pretty funny way later, and I will explain how. So yeah, there was interesting things happening in 2018. So team did. Oh, sorry, that was too fast. Team started to decide their structure. So team was like sitting there and saying, "Hey, we need to do this, this, and that, and we need like this type of person with such skills, and so on and so forth." So they were thinking on how they can deliver what business wanted. So there's still a cosmic backlog of delivering things there, but they were already thinking on what kind of people they need to do, and we were also trying to recruit more people, which had one problem. So the customer itself. But by this type of contract we had, the customer was deciding on whom to hire to this team. So it was the dedicated team, like under one contract, not like in staffing, like person to person, but more like a contract for dedicated team. And the customer was deciding. And the Snow White actually managed to push away customer from making decisions there. Yeah, sure. Question.
Sorry, I lost the ground. Now we are talking about what month and what year?
2018 still. So
Okay.
yeah, so
2018, and it's
18 Renaissance.
Renaissance, and you're talking about January, February, right? Or
So
no?
yeah, I'm talking more about January, February. So in
Okay.
Somewhere around, I don't know, January or February, they delivered for first bug fix. And yeah, and basically it helped a lot because not because customer was super picky. Actually, customer was picking a good people, but the problem was his capacity. On the local market, if you are not extending an offer in 2 weeks, then the candidate is pretty much lost. And the 2 weeks was a minimal period for which you can pretty much find a slot to set up the interview. So to staff the team, the customer was effectively removed, except for the key roles like business analyst or yeah, pretty much the business analyst alone. And the since the workaholic, yeah, sound like Indian market, to be honest, Ukrainian market as well. So everyone is getting offer on the light speed. But for Indian market, I can prepare a separate presentation. So much fun there. Yeah, we hired BA Smooth Talker. So I remember this talk with the Snow White about the hiring Smooth Talker, and I thought that the Smooth Talker was not gonna make it, and he didn't. The problem with the Smooth Talker was he had so fantastic social and communication skills. It was like, I don't know, whoa. When you're talking to this person, he can sweet talk you, princess or whatever. But there was a specific problem with him. Just like a business analyst on the customer side in Zurich, he was not delivering any artifacts. So he was not producing any clarity. He could talk with customer, he could understand what's happening, but then nothing. And yeah, it pretty much didn't work well. And there was a guy, owner, who was hired. He was hired as a QA manual, but in 2019 he switched to business analyst, and so far it's the best business analyst with a director level and managing director feedbacks that the guy is super great. Another guy who joined was Gatling, the guy who is producing the code at the speed of light with no regards to quality. But it's actually in a big team, it's a good trait because you can always have things that needs to be done fast. Working, but yeah, there was some quality issues with his code, but he was super great and super fun. There was another sort of a failure, and you see that there are a lot of people who are joining the project for 3 months that didn't make it through period. They're resigning by themselves, or they just terminated by the customer. For the reason the project is super complex and has a high threshold for entrance, especially for the developers. So for business domain, it's pretty okay. So for testing, it's pretty okay. But for the developers, it's a nightmare. So the developers didn't last long, especially more junior ones. Braveheart, also the guy who didn't make it, and Cinderella. So when the Snow Whites were leaving, she sort of find replacement for her. Also pretty junior person, ready to join as a PMO. And there was also decision that I would be invited into the project to sort of generate more stability, because it was already progressing fast, and a lot of interesting things were happening, and no one wanted this project to fail there. So I was sort of mentor for Cinderella, and I was also helping the project with my ideas on how we can proceed there. But you need to so PMO make a self-organized team. Pretty much no. So right now I would say that the team can live without Scrum Master or PM. So PM, it was sort of how to say it. It was official role, but it was like more Scrum Master and PMO stuff. So BA owner, why I called him owner, because he actually overthrew the business analyst in Zurich, and he is a legitimate product owner, not in words but in deeds. So he's managing the business stakeholders fantastically, and he's owning the product itself to the extent that he's making decision what would be delivered. So but that just took him, I don't know, half a year working as a QA. He just raised the hand, trained himself as a BA, and just started to work as an owner. But it's a 2019 story when we were searching for the BA. And yeah, so pretty much the team started to extend itself and change itself. But the important part, that the initiative here was not from a customer side. The customer was bringing the problems and the issues, and the team was suggesting, okay, so we need that much people and that types of skill. So all those profiles were created and hired by pretty much the team itself. And there was a sort of controversial situations when the rates and salaries leaked to the team, and the team even started to negotiate the rates and salaries with customers. So some team members managed to negotiate their rates with the customer, of course. Yeah.
So team finds out about
Sure.
rates which
Sure.
were paid by customer to.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's, I don't know. It's a sort of a funny thing, because nothing actually bad happened, because they were never asking for the salary which was out of the rate. So it was like pretty okay for me, or pretty okay for everyone, because yeah, I know.
To tell the truth, in outsourced business, they can guess like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first. So.
I also don't see a big problem in it, because pretty much I have seen information provided by some external provider with the rates of major IT companies, IT outsourcing companies, and yeah, I was not surprised to see those numbers there. So I don't think it's a super secretive information, so to say. Yeah,
Yeah.
but but it's a one more thing to self-organization. So I never seen such things before, and I was surprised to see those when I sort of step into the team. It was like, wow, that's interesting. Business trips on demand. So those transformations are happened not without the business trips, and the team is calling the music. So the team is saying, okay, so I think we need to send this, and this guy to the customer premises to talk with this with those outcome. So not you are sending them to business trips, not the customer requesting the business trips. They are raising a demand for these business trips. It's approved and they go. So it's one more thing about the self-organization, and I never seen those to be overused somehow. So all those requests and business trips are pretty much was sound and brought some interesting things to us. Yeah, and during the 2018, first bug fixes delivered, first story delivered, and the team started to think it over what to do with this nightmare application, because everyone was super stressed about this DEM monolith. So the team proposed migrate to microservices and proposed to introduce test automation, like besides the unit test and integration test that they started to do by themselves, like more of a BDD approach to test business scenarios, at least on the endpoints that were available to us. And they started to sell it to customers. So not like company, like, oh, let's make a pre-sale or whatsoever, but they started, okay, so we can't proceed. We won't go far with the application as is. Let's make it better. So they started to generating the ideas and build up the plans. And eventually, those plans were never happened in a way that the team was planning, but all those ideas were incorporated into customer strategy and returned to us as a plan from a customer side. But pretty much each and every idea that the team had returned to us as a sort of customers' ideas, and it suits everyone because right now we have a legitimate ground to do it, like because customers said it.
So, am I right that at the very beginning, when the team decided to do the microservices projects, right? Customer didn't know about that. It was like
Once again,
it was at the very beginning when the team decided to do microservices project. Customer didn't know about that, right?
no. So that was just one of the solutions. What we can do with this application to start delivering faster, because at the end of 2018, we were still delivering slow, or maybe we were not delivering slow, but the business was unsatisfied by the amount of things they are getting, by the amount of candies we are delivering, and delivering in this nightmare technical setup was impossible, because each time you're doing something, you're breaking something.
So it was approved by customer to do that, right?
No. It was the initiative of a team. They generated few ideas. Then the customer asked to elaborate more, and they elaborate into some sort of form of presentations that the customer used to convince someone there. But
Okay.
yeah,
And customer, Alexander asks the question: Who is the customer? Customer, it's not a company which like a customer of a
um,
project.
I would say that this is the guy from a contract with the company we are working with, but in the company org chart, he was not our manager. It was the place was vacant for a long period of time. So we were sort of supervised by him, but he was not running accountable for the team itself.
So
So
it's not a representative of a final customer, right?
No, he was not from the business. He was from an IT part of the customer organization, but there was a business which was represented by a different, let's say, groups with the different interests, and they were managed separately.
I see. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, so 2018 actually was a breakthrough, and as you can see, the team is already has no sort of a team leader, no project manager who is doing everything. So it's pretty much like a pirate boat with democracy and with Scrum Master who is not interfering into delivery itself, but rather putting away pressure and helping with blockers. So it's pretty much the what about PMO Cinderella? Yeah, so PMO Cinderella joined the team without any prior IT experience, without any prior PMO Scrum Master PM experience or whatsoever. So it's super junior person. So Snow White had a PMO experience previously, mostly like administrative function, while Cinderella had no any experience in IT. So cute. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but as long as it's approved by customer, the team decides. And how much correlate to junior position? So for unfortunately, I can explain. So it's not the kind of PMO you would expect in a major organization with a PMO office, project management officer. So unfortunately, yeah, I have seen only few organizations when the PMO was had a stronger position. It was consisting of super professionals and project program and portfolio management. In majority of cases, unfortunately, PMO is an administrative function, which is take care of operational stuff for the team. So both inside the vendor. Yeah, I know. Just let me open you. Yeah, yeah. It's not kind of PMO you would see on the book, unfortunately. Yeah, so basically to support Cinderella, I also joined the project. So I had some previous history of advisory to those people. Some of my advisors live till today, but nonetheless. And basically, we started to some training program for her, some mentorship, and she was starting from a basic stuff. And actually, she succeeded. So after a year, I can say that she's capable to perform the job independently. So it took a year. So how much it takes on a battleground to prepare a person with unlimited training budget? It's a year, and with a mentor. Yeah. So what happens next? Basically, in 2019, the team grew a bit. So some people unfortunately was lost. So Gatling was not only writing code fast or blazingly fast, but he's also impatient. And those things that were planned in 2018 just started to be implemented. So we just wrote a framework for testing. We just prepared the infrastructure for microservices. We just implemented few first new features on microservice and migrated to first part of functionality. So it's pretty much the beginning of technical transformation. But it's interesting how team transformed actually. So one more interesting part was made by the customer. So there is an engineer on the customer side who is pretty much doing L3 support for us. So whenever there is an incident, we don't have access to a production environment. We don't have access to UAT environment. So pretty much the guy deals with those incidents by himself, unless this incident is a major change. So it's also sort of an important part because people are not distracted by things which are happening on production. So someone's just covering our rest from a customer side. team decides what to do. So pretty much the owner transformed in April 2019 into product owner, and he immediately got trust from everyone from a business side. So right now he's drinking beer in onshore location with the stakeholders, and I have received feedbacks on him from a directors that he can put on a wall and be proud till the end of his life. But most important thing, what he started doing, he started to enforce priority. He started to enforce quality to the artifacts he was producing. He was starting to do a real pushbacks to the business, and he was starting to shaping what is to be delivered, because there are a few concurrent groups which are pretty much have a different interest and try to push their own agenda into the backlog. And he's the guy who is right now de facto making decisions on what would be delivered, and it suits everyone. So he's polite enough to make it in a way that everyone stays happy, which is important. And yeah, and he's doing that from remote location, which is pretty rare case. So in a normal situation, you have your own business analysts, which is not, let's say, sits with the team, but mostly working with customers in onshore location. There was a DevOps hired. There's a bad story with the DevOps. So we created a backlog for the guy. We spent immense amount of time to find a good DevOps. It's still a problem on the world market. So we were considering not only local market, but we found one on internal mobility because of project downsizing after we lost any hope to find one. And he was available within the 1 day. So he pretty much on the next day, then we have signed the offer, started the project. And the very same day, customer came to us and said that there is a restructuring and all the DevOps stuff is going away under command of another person. So unfortunately, majority of DevOps things that we have planned are not yet delivered, but he's happy because he's part of a team who is creating infrastructure for microservices, while we wanted to stabilize the old world, this nightmarish monolith first, to make it work somehow, then go to microservices, which is actually, I don't know, maybe not so bad decision. So there is some sense in it, because why to invest if there is a strategy to migrate to microservices. They are decide how to do. So there is literally no one saying them on how they want to do. Right now we have change in stakeholder. So our ambassador guy was substituted by an architect. But the problem with this architect is pretty much he's in the same situation. So he has a lot of different projects he's doing. So he still doesn't have much of capacity to rule the team. So I assume that the situation when the team decides on how they deliver would be preserved. And right now the team is creating a detailed plan on how we would split up the application small piece by small piece into microservices, given that we have already a few parts of application as a proof of concept that were detached from a monolith and working on production right now. And team delivered independently for 4 weeks. So there was a small exam for them. So for 4 weeks, Cinderella was not able to do anything. And I was deliberately not doing anything, just watching. And they made it through by themselves. So there was no problem. The Scrum Master responsibility immediately were substituted by one of the team members, because we have a few engineers which are highly proficient in Agile. Like,
sorry for interrupting. Who was like a Scrum Master role in this table?
Yeah, so there was a Snow White, then there was a Cinderella, which was supported by me, and pretty much for 4 weeks the team was, or for 2 sprints, the team was running totally independently of Scrum Master without any problems. So they just picked up it, and it's proving that the team could run without the Scrum Master right now. So they are easily, without any asking, can substitute any role in the team. So whenever something needs to be done, the team itself could rearrange who is doing what without enforcing it. Yeah, so Team has mixed skills, so we have a lot of people who are, for instance, Java C#, which could work on front end and back end. We have Java DevOps joining, and all other people are pretty much multi-stack, multi-skill people who can do different things. So they don't need to ask for any assistance from customer or from some support from Luxoft in terms of expertise or whatsoever. And yeah, team works directly with business, so there is no business analyst on customer side anymore. He's still there, he's still helping whenever it's needed, but pretty much anyone in the team could go and talk to business. And they already built a strong relationship through business trips there, so they know for whom they are working. That they know they direct customers, let's say. And they know people from adjacent teams, so they could, whenever they have problem, they're not raising a hand or waiting for it to be resolved. They just go and resolve them by themselves. So that's also maybe because there was never a strong person who would sort of manage in a classical way. So everyone, when we was hiring people, so we were saying, okay, so it's a little messy, the application is crap, so we are expecting that you will come and you would be capable to do it yourself, and at the same time the team would help you. So, and that's kind of people that we are currently have in team. So each of team member could perform independently. And team forms subgroups to solve the issue. So as you can see, on October there are 13 people. 14 person is joining in November. So it's way too much to perform as one team. So right now they are grouping on the subgroups to solve the issues. So de facto we have each release or each sprint we have subgroups which are working on parts of a scope that was previously prioritized and described by a business analyst. So why I think that the team is self-organizing? Pretty much just a second. Mike Kohn described on his website, Mounting Software, which pretty much I think you know who he is. He described a sort of a maturation matrix for the team, which is a manager-led team, so executing the task. So no one ever in entire history was giving the task to the team. So in dark ages, they just took random bug they wanted to fix as a proof of concept, which was pretty cool. And there was never a manager who was, I don't know, pointing a fingers on things that needs to be done. So pretty much manager-led team never existed, even despite there was there was a Snow White and Cinderella. Self-managing, self-organizing team. So also has authority over how work is done. So the team has full authority on how work is done. They decide how to do it. That's the point. They even had their own sort of environment independent from all the environments customer had in AWS to be more independent at some point until AWS subscription was discontinued centralizedly by customer. Self-directed, also has authority over who is on the team and sometimes over reporting relationships. Yes, so they are deciding on what kind of combination of skills and how much people they need to deliver the pretty much scope which was set by business for the next year. So they're scratching their heads and saying, okay, so previously we had only people who were working on monolith, so we need someone with microservices to explain on how they're doing. Okay, so we don't have a framework, so we need someone who can write the framework and automate these things on a proper way. Okay, we don't have a DevOps automation, let's hire a DevOps. And they were changing the structure of a team just by thinking over what kind of people they need. More senior, less senior, and so on and so forth. And customer trusted this judgment, and this judgment eventually became pretty good, I would say, in terms of things that we are delivering. So we are over delivering other teams in the area like 2 times, and our quality of our delivery was escalated to the director level, and we have received multiple good references from a managing director for delivering high quality. And self-governing also has the authority to alter a team's main purpose. So with the team main purpose, it's a bit tricky. So if I would say what's the purpose of a team, like for the majority of team right now, the purpose is migrating to microservices. As a technical specialist, they are interested in it. So they are more interested in migrating this Kraken to the microservices than actually delivering the business thing. But you can't get away with from business delivery anyhow. Next reference, Lalux. I don't know if you read his book, but just Google Lalux, and pretty much you would see his book on organizational culture. And if you check what kind of traits the team has, maybe not the whole organization, but I would say it's sort of a green. So there's shared values in terms of how things delivered, what does that mean quality, and everyone is pretty serious about quality. Everyone is pretty committed and taking seriously the delivery. So everyone is engaged. Stakeholder are put in balance after some period of strange things going there. Culture over strategy, I'm not so sure. There is still strategy from a customer side, but I would say that the team itself maintains a proper engineering culture. So there are certain expectations towards your mindset, towards your values, and towards on how you perform your work from a team. So the team expects it and searches in each and every candidate who is joining, and the team is empowered. So evolutionary purpose, not sure. So it's still stuck on the vision that, hey, we would migrate it to microservices and retire. Self-management, yes. Wholeness, pretty much. Anti-fragile, probably no. So there are still a lot of friendship bonds inside the team, which is good, but it's fragile. So if someone leaves, so everyone would feel themselves hurt. Higher purpose, like make gold out of whatever was shipped by another vendor, and distributed decision making, which is pretty funny. It leads to a lot of discussions, and it's hard to get a decision from a team. But whenever decision comes, the whole team through those discussions are aware what was the decision and what was the evolution of discussions around this decision. So it's not effective in terms of let's say resources spent to make a decision. So in normal situation, you have a team lead who says, hey, we will do it that way, and done. And here people can discuss a few days on how to proceed, but after that, pretty much everyone shares the understanding on how we came to this decision and why other options were not so good, or they were inferior, and at the same time they understand what needs to be done. So it's not like someone just forgot what was discussed because they were involved. So it's not a TL organization, and it will never be, I guess, because we're still heavily influenced by the customer itself. But it's solid green in terms of looks. But of course, you can challenge that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's a strange story. A lot of things that I was never expecting to see happened. And they happened, as you can see, without direct, let's say, management or coaching or whatsoever. So pretty much the Scrum Masters were not trying to manually put people in certain places to do something, but they were just managing some sort of impediments. and they were building up the bridges with important people inside the customer organization to make the information flowing, to get everyone aware about the decision, and to get access to something that we were not aware that existing, but could help us, or so on and so forth. And the story of this team continues this very day. So part of a team, after battles about the big migration, departed to customer to confront new stakeholder with their ideas about how we would migrate this terrible monolith to a microservices. So in ideal situation, I would say that if no one would be touching the team, and we would be doing anything except the migrating to microservices, that such kind of application could be migrated in 1 year without any destruction, with full access everywhere. But of course, it's not the case. So there is still a business, and the application is super important, and it's generating the money for the customer, like huge amounts of money. So that's pretty much means that it should be running, and business could enforce business delivery over the migration itself. At the same time, so what migration already help us to do is to have a shorter feedback loops, because with monoliths, pretty much the delivery cadence is 3 months. So at the end of the 3 months, you can deliver something to the business. And with microservices, feedback loop is 1 day. So that's it.
Okay, guys, I think it's not a lot of people here, so you can unmute your microphones and ask questions using your microphone. Yeah, feel free to do that.
So yeah, maybe some of you are not happy because some of you were waiting for some magical recipe how to turn a team into self-managed team. Maybe some of you expected some sort of a checklist you can go through, but the team is so unique, the people are so special, and the things that are happening in this project are so interesting that you can definitely learn something from it, but most probably you would need to find your way towards the self-organizing team, which is pretty much doing everything on their own. Oh yes, yeah, and of course we are paying high salaries to retain people, but yeah, not always helps.
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, here we go.
How does this project influence your annual assessment in terms of pros and cons? What does that mean, my annual assessment? Annual assessment by whom? By my manager, by vendor management, by customer? Well, yeah, after pretty much, so there was always some sort of a senior management oversight and involvement. So in the beginning it was colonel, then it was a big boss, which is too big to manage individual projects, and now I'm sort of overseeing this project. And of course, the problems and of this project is somehow my problems right now. At the same time, I have other things to do, so it's a fraction of what your role in the project except mentor for SMs. So I pretty much not only mentored SMs, but I also helped the team and put some ideas which are now there. For instance, we had no documentation. Right now we have the documentation. So the Pathfinder, the technical writer, was a girl which was also with she had no much of technical background, so we have hired a technical writer to document it. No one before that was thinking that the teams coaching. Yes, for sure. So I just brought the idea, everyone loved it. Right now the Pathfinder is transforming itself into QA manual, for instance. Or there was a decision to make a owner from a QA to a BA, and that was a good decision. So little bits there and there, but it's always helping. So I'm not creating a delivery plans. I'm not. Of course, I'm managing the risks, like as a part of my responsibilities, like risk related to the delivery, to the people, and so on and so forth. But it's pretty high level, so small issues are resolved on the team level. And I just do it over times. What about people overburning? Yeah, that's kind of interesting thing. So I there was a case when I asked people for overtimes for volunteers, and there was one volunteer who pretty much did overtimes, but otherwise we don't do overtimes. There was a major incident. Yeah, sure.
Like, why are you asking people to do some overtimes? It should be their decision to do.
Yeah, and
right? I mean, it's a
there
team
was
decision.
their decision. So I said to the team, hey guys, so we have a problem. We might help customer to resolve it, or we might not. So is there anyone who wants to go overtime to solve it? And there was one person who did it single-handedly. Otherwise, overtimes I manage, guess by who? By team. So there is no standard amount of hours the team is working. So if you want to work, overtime, please go for it. If you don't want to work, well, you can take 2 weeks to take a rest. For instance, Steve Jobs, you can see that April, May, June, he was on a sabbatical leave. So he just traveled for 3 months. He said that he's tired after, working 2 years on a project, and yeah, like, okay, not a problem. Did the team overtime by their initiative sometimes. So people, so we have be pretty flexible in terms of working from home, and in terms of working hours, and in terms of amount of hours you're working. And one of the things which is enabling, it's a B2B contracts, which are pretty much paid by hourly rate. So there is no commitment from you to work, I don't know, 160, nor the red line you need to cross to overwork if you want to. So some people, and I believe that at least one person is sitting behind the wall right now and coding, because sometimes people feel more productive. Sometimes people say, okay, so 4 times and my day is spoiled, I'm going home. So okay, on a big team you can do that. So on a smaller team, pretty much you can't. So the good thing that the budget allows us to do so. Did the team overtime by the initiative? Yes, sometimes, but it's completely voluntarily. And since except this incident, all L3 support is managed by customer. We don't have burning task. We don't have on-call support. We don't have, I don't know, some sort of a things that we need to deliver like today or die. To remote work. Yeah, I probably will tell interesting things that much of the people don't understand. Is that there is no like a single Luxoft, and there is no common policies around that. So there are different accounts, different projects, and depending on the things that they are doing, there are pretty much different approach to it. So in our project, we enjoy more freedom. There are projects when there is a clean room, when you are not allowed to use Google or so, and you're working from this clean room and someone is watching over your shoulder what you're doing. So statistics, can't tell. So I had a plenty of such projects, but I can't say what is the percent of such projects on the whole company. I have some visibility, but I wouldn't say it's super common. So at least in financial services, because of access rights and security stuff. But yeah, sure.
Just a question. You're like a project manager only for this project, working as a project manager, or for several?
So yeah, as I explained on the start, I can't consider myself a project manager anymore, because I'm not managing projects in a classical way. So I'm jack of all trades, doing a lot of different and pretty interesting high-level stuff right now. So one of the things is actually such kind of emergency intervention. So when the Snow White left, you can't backfill a person fast. So there was a decision that like what, for example, like for instance, in rebuilding the resource management in Luxoft from scratch in whole Luxoft, or like in a pre-sale for super huge, interesting things. Why do you think customer accepted people with no experience when had experienced a lot of difficulties? Because of the price. For a technical writer, for instance, customer did not understand why we needed documentation for a migration. For application with a complicated business rules and a lot of them, and we explained that we create a technical we create end user documentation, then we create some sort of a BRDs, then we create some sort of a acceptance criteria, then we create tests, and when we have the tests and everyone agrees that this is the application how it should be, because I pretty much sure that we would leave something behind during the migration, some unused functionality someone forgot, or functionality that everyone thinks that should be used but no one uses, and we can't check the statistics of usage right now. And customer said, okay, so if it's almost for free, then pretty much it will work for me. And when it comes for sort of a PMO Scrum Master roles, so customer accepted also because his vision was like teams without managers doing something, and he was like rolling in a sky, so doing some super senior job, which he made on 10. So right now he's leading one of the biggest customer strategic initiatives. So yeah, that's his vision. Is important for self-organized team? Yes, it is, and especially it's important to keep people on a shitty project, which it still is. So people sometimes are getting frustrated over the things. So work time allows people to and it's especially important in Poland. So people are valuing work-life balance. So it allows them to build a work-life balance like not possible on classical project when everyone is coming to 9, with direct and strict management. And yeah, and it would be not possible if we would not be independent structurally from a lot of things happening, like L3 support. So L3, if we had L3 support on us, so there would be a lot of pressure to fix the incident, but the customer made a wise decision to focus on the delivery and took away the L3 support from us. Delivery POV, such decisions have no sense except newbies unless an engagement model was TNM, wasn't it? It is. So who is doing L3? L3 is done by a hero from a customer organization which has access to production. We don't, because it's there are a lot of issues with cross-border data transfer which are not solved yet. TNM, yes, this is a sort of a TNM project right now, and starting January, it's a managed service like all the projects in account. So he's able to cover all L3s. Yes, he's able to cover all L3s for our specific module. So as I said in the beginning, there is 4 modules, and there are, let's say, 4 people on the customer side which are covering those modules. And pretty much leaving vendors only to deliver new features or bug fixes not related to incidents. I feel it's actually L2. No, it's not L2. There is a separate L2 support. Thing is that this engineer is delivering hot fixes to production, so he's generating the code. And he's mostly generating the code. So besides helping with L3 issues, he's also delivering some new systems right now. But it's pretty cozy situation because typically L3 is also on you. Thanks customer data and inability of customer to make a data masking that we are not into it. What was suggested to team as a measure to relieve from pressure? To relieve from pressure. So pressure never comes out. So business wants to pretty much know what they pay for, and they pay for customer IT, and customer IT pays us. So business delivery pressure is still there, and it's pretty big. So I would say that the best thing is that business found a partner in the owner guy, who is kind of a product owner, and he's doing a great job of managing the business expectations. So business is not expecting unreasonable things anymore. And in 2019, pretty much except one big incident that we were involved into, there was there was, of course, fears that we would not deliver something, but overall I wouldn't say that in 2019 there was that much pressure. So it's all about owner managing the business and keeping away the pressure from a team itself, so they can focus on delivering. Less distraction.
So I think we finished with questions, right?
Yeah. So it's pretty much a common thing. So I can give also a few examples of interesting self-organized team, but their context was different. And context, and I hope I give you, most probably even gave you more context that it should be, but I hope you understand from a context why this worked. And when I see people which are trading snake oil or silver bullets, that hey, do this, this, and that, and you would have a self-organizing team, I would say, whoa, will it work in my context? I don't know. Will it work in some other context? I don't know. So pretty much anything that happens should be always described in some sort of a specific detailed context. Otherwise, the solution which someone selling you is irrelevant.
I agree with you, and you showed like a great example that self-organizing team is possible. But everything depends on the team. So
yes, for sure. But I would say that specific people, and you see how much people actually project loss. So in normal situation, it's so that would be escalated in every possible direction, such amount of loss on a project. What was the measure? What retention plan created and implemented? That's a secret. So we have a personalized retention plan for each person. So of course, it's not ideal situation that everyone's sitting there happy, because there's still a dirty job and still the shitty application to work on, and there's still some personal problems related to it. But yeah, pretty much for each person there is a personal retention plan. It's not always working, it's not always possible to retain people, and I don't like, given the nature of the project, I don't believe you can possibly retain the whole team on a longer run, because someone would would eventually would run out of juice fighting with all this complexity of the project. But at the same time, it's much easier to fight it if you know that you can change something and the voice is heard.
Okay. Any other questions? No questions. Okay, Alexander, please choose two people who are going to have what's retention plan created and implemented. Thank you.
Answer. So so there's a pretty cool system in Luxoft which allows you to plan retention and people related risk and to execute it. Of course, as I said, you can't save everyone, but it's working.
I have a question for you. From like a project manager's point of view, what was the biggest risk and when it was during these 3 years?
The dark ages. So I never seen a customer who would wait a year for a result. So the dark ages, it was like the project was red everywhere and escalated constantly. because seeing the team not delivering and people leaving, it's like nightmare of a manager.
Yeah, for sure.
So but I joined at the end of the dark ages, so I have seen it, but I was not participating anyhow, except friendly advice to people which I was sitting near to.
And we have like crosses and letters A. A, it's like assigned.
No, it's me.
Yeah, it's you, but what does it mean A here? Yeah.
Just another letter, so you can consider it to be, I don't know, 1 or 0 whatsoever.
I see.
Just another marker to show the switch between hands off, eyes on, to hands on, eyes on mode. So right now, I think there is some issues with it, but most probably I would step out of this project. Maybe I would stay for some period of time, but I think that at this point, so the team could deliver with minimum supervision. So the only thing you need to do for them right now is to organize operational stuff. So papers, business trips,
Yeah,
invoices, contracts.
So
Yeah,
A will be transferred to X, right?
yeah, or not. So not my decision,
We'll see. Any other questions? No questions. Okay, please choose 2 people who will have tickets for Atlassian's conference.
Alexander Nogai is probably in London right now. Please
Okay.
confirm. So he's not getting a ticket, or if he can travel. So I like when I'm challenged, because it also means that the person was listening actively, which is good. But if he doesn't want, we can go down and find some favorite question.
It also can be present for memes, so not only for questions.
Present for memes.
Yeah.
Probably let it be Pavel and Nikita.
Pavel and Nikita, if you want to get tickets for Atlassian's conference, please text me in personal messages in Telegram. Yeah, via Telegram. Also.
So yeah, and by the way, about the memes, so it's also I'm really interesting in culture, like personal culture of people, and people and the team culture. So the team has its own memes, so things that no one would understand, but if they talk inside the team, like everyone would be laughing and understand what is it about. So it's pretty cool.
How can I start sharing my screen?
You're already sharing.
Yeah, I'm already sharing my screen. Sorry. How I stop share? Great. So also, you're able to see me?
Yeah.
Also, we, as a community, we want to present you our T-shirt. So you're getting a T-shirt. So please, if anybody is going to Warsaw, like next week or in 2 weeks, please text me and I will give it to transfer to Alexander. Or are you going to be in Kyiv?
I was in Kyiv from previous week on the weekends, but I was passing through, so I can ask my emissaries to come to a specific place and pick it up. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, and basically I'm an open guy, so if you have some additional questions, you can contact me directly through the contacts that I had on the thank you page, or through Telegram. So if I have a time, I would help. Sometimes I don't have time, so it could take some time, but overall I'm trying to help everyone. And pretty much, yes, I hope this unusual story was inspiring to you, and you can take something out of it.
Cool. I also think so. For me, as for BA, it's not was probably so So cool, because I'm not a project manager. I had really bad experience of project manager, so I decided
Everyone
to become
does.
a business analyst. Okay, guys, it was nice to try this new format. I think that we are going to continue have such meetings in the future. If you have some topics which you want to share with other, please feel free to contact me or Sergey Alexeyev, and we will definitely will do that. Okay, so bye.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for your attention. Hope that was interesting for you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.